Good afternoon, everyone. This microphone may be a little overkill. We don't have that many people here. So thank you all for coming on this beautiful sunny day. How nice is this? So to drag you away from the sunshine after the weather we've had in the last month is impressive. The point of this meeting is very simple: to introduce our new board candidates, I guess the board members, I guess technically now, to all of you. Give you a chance to ask them questions, get to know them a little bit, what their background is, what they've been doing here at Stonebridge, and exchange some ideas. So this probably won't last too long, but I'm going to ask Steve Whitehead, who's vice president of the association this year, to run the meeting. And when Steve is ready to go, I'll give him the mic. And Steve, the program is yours.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Whitehead, and I serve as vice president of the board, but also vice chair of the nominating committee. So the nominating committee is formed, and most of its task doesn't take place until later in the year. And we began in around October and started looking for candidates, and the committee, which is comprised of two board members, which is Bill as chairman and me as vice chair, along with three other members, Betsy Gallo, Kathy Deedy, and Raj Sayal. And I want to thank them for their work this past year. That work has produced a slate of three candidates. One candidate we all know very well and who is not up here, and that's Howard Nottingham. And Howard has graciously accepted to extend his term into another additional term. So you only have two people up here that are new to us as potential board members. And this is Warren Rupel, immediately on my left, and Steve Brown. And I'm going to ask each of them to take a few minutes and tell you a little bit about who they are and what they bring to the board. So, Warren?
Thanks, Steve. I guess we're no match for bocce and other things, warm weather, but I think I know most of you here. Some people I don't. If you don't know me, I'm Marie's husband. I go by that a lot. And that's, usually gets a response. So Marie's here. Just a little background. Marie and I, our main home is in northern New Jersey. We're both native New Yorkers. We have two sons, one granddaughter. So we're very fortunate in that respect. In terms of my professional background, the club has no shortage of accountants and CPAs, but I'm a CPA, and I've practiced for 45 years. So I'm not going to go through like my whole life work history because we'll be here a long time. But I started out in the Big Four, KPMG, and then moved to Deloitte for a couple of years. After that, I left to become the CFO of a nonprofit organization called the African American Institute. Doesn't really have anything to do with African Americans, but it does have to do with bringing people from Africa to U.S. College programs or work study programs here in the U.S. And then I left there, and we're about 15 years through now. Left there to go to the city of New York, where I was the assistant controller for accounting. I basically had overall responsibility for the city's accounting and financial reporting. I oversaw a bureau of about 120 people or so. And then from there, as I told the nominating committee, I decided that before I got too old, wanted to make some money. So I have to come back into public accounting and join a firm called Marks Paneth, which is now merged into a company called CBiz. And CBiz is now acquired another large firm. So we're actually wound up being the 7th largest accounting firm in the country right now. So it's quite a large organization. I specialized basically from day one of my career in audits of governments and nonprofit organizations. So that's where I did a lot of commercial audits as well, but I really kind of had an interest in that. And I've seen been through many board meetings. Those of you who know Phil from RSM, If you look at it, that's basically what I do for a living now, or did for a living. Supervise audit teams and report results to management and boards and members if needed. So I've written a few books along the way and on government accounting and not-for-profit accounting and auditing. We're a CIRA, Common Interest Realty Association, so CCH is an organization that publishes audit guides for auditors. So I wrote and now review their not-for-profit audit guides and audit tools. But I also, in the last couple of years, have started looking at reviewing their CIRA audit guide and audit tools. So I kind of have enough kind of knowledge of how auditors do things and the finances of CIRA. So that's really where I'm at. I hope I could bring my financial expertise to the board. We do have a lot, but beyond that, I think I'm a fairly level-headed person and capable of, understanding both sides of questions and issues. And I think that, that's really what I can contribute to the board, a little bit of temperament and a little bit of really technical knowledge. So, Steve?
Thanks, Ron. Just Fran.
Thanks, Steve. And first, I'd like to thank the nominating committee for all the work they do. I was on it, not this year, but the prior year. A lot goes into it, and I really appreciate the efforts. And I'm very thankful for this opportunity to be on the board, and would also like to thank the board members as well. A little bit about me. I lived and worked in Syracuse, New York for about 42 years. Did not grow up there, but met Robin, and like Warren, I'm probably more known as Robin's husband as well. Moved to Clifton Park, New York very recently to be closer to our grandsons. We found we were making a lot of trips from Syracuse to the Albany area, which was about 2.5, 3 hours. So we finally caved in and we just moved there. We're there about 5 months, here about 7. And get to spend a lot of time with our 2 grandsons, which is just wonderful when we're up in New York. As far as a professional career, like Warren, I started with at that time I think it was a Big 8 firm. I don't even know anymore, but there was like 8 of these big firms, and started probably in 1980 or so. After going to a small liberal arts college in upstate New York called Hamilton. Then I went to a graduate school at Northeastern and took a job in Syracuse. About 6 years into that, they asked me to do a tour of duty down in Philadelphia, which I did. Loved going down there in that experience, but they came back and said, "Great news, you're moving to Philadelphia." And nothing against Brian, but I didn't like Philadelphia that much, so I wasn't about to go. What's that? But so I decided to, or had to, they told me that was a career-ending decision at Price Waterhouse. And so I wound up with a regional firm, spent the rest of my career there in public accounting. We had about 100 people in our firm, and we worked mostly with for-profit, small to medium-sized companies. So recently retired, still do some consulting work for that firm, but that is quickly ending. So I'm here, like I said, 7 months, and really have a lot of time to do this. I look forward to really working hard on the board. I will spend whatever time is necessary, and I would welcome anybody to, ask me questions once I get up to speed and so on and so forth. Here in Stonebridge, I first moved here. Actually, I came here for a 5-day vacation in 2016, and I left owning a condo, which was not really, which was surprising. My brother and his wife. We were leaving for dinner, and she was driving. She sees a open house sign that says, "We're going to look at this house." And then we're like, "Nah, we're just here for 5 days." And long story short, we didn't buy that one, but we put an offer in on one that was actually in terrible condition, and surprisingly, we got it. So it turned out to be probably the best thing, or one of the best things we've ever done. Kind of a similar situation. We were there until this past January. Friends of ours, the Gandiers, who lived over in Thornbrook, called us totally out of the blue and said, hey, we're moving. Any interest in buying our house? So we're like, oh boy, here we go again. And everything just fell into place. Our Willow Bend condos sold very quickly. And we wound up moving over to Thornbrook last January, just about a year ago. Here at Stonebridge, I've been involved initially. I've been on the strategic planning committee. As I said, I was on the nominating committee. And I've been on the finance committee for 3 years. And while at Willow Bend, I was also the treasurer of the Willow Bend Associated Board for 3 years. So, you know, during those experiences, I just really enjoyed getting to know the club. I've always been one to try to give back a little bit to the communities in which I live and work. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. It's very fulfilling. And this was, for me, kind of a natural progression. I just enjoy it. And I think I have some skills that might be helpful and, you know, moving the club forward as we head towards the future. And I know we have, you know, some challenges, and we've come a long way, and we still have to look into the future and pay attention to the things and the demographics that are changing. And I really look forward to that challenge.
All right, thank you both. I just really have one question now that for those of you that don't know, one of the qualifications for serving on the board, or prerequisite as it may be, is to have served on at least one, in Steve's case, multiple committees. And so you start to get a flavor for how the association works. You gain a lot of familiarity with the community in ways that you never thought possible. Most of it good, a few challenges. With that in mind, if I'd ask both of you just to take a couple of minutes and from your committee experience, what do you see as a few of the challenges facing us, or the opportunities as they may be, both from a near-term and a long-term standpoint? So, Warren?
Oh, good. So Steve can't take what I have to say, so that'll be good. So let me I kind of left out my Stonebridge experience when I gave my little bio, but Marie and I moved here, Hurricane Irma, if you recall, hit on a Sunday. We closed on our unit the Wednesday before that, so it was kind of an interesting time. But you know, then drove to Atlanta to get a flight back out to New Jersey. So I served on the finance committee. I think it's about 5 years. First under Dave Harper and now under Howard. So it's been a very rewarding experience, and I've learned a lot about the inner workings of at least the finances of Stonebridge. And when you do that, you kind of get a sense for some of the inner workings of some of the other areas of the club's operation. So if you're, you know, recommending approval expenditures for whatever it is, air conditionings or whatever, you know, you kind of have to know something about the actual thing rather than just what the accounting entry is for it. So get some knowledge of that. I look back over from that Irma experience. So we had Irma, right? And that, you know, club recovered from that pretty well. And then not too long after that, we were hit with COVID, and then had that situation for a year or two. And then we had the renovation that happened, right? That caused a lot of disruption and construction and everything else that goes on at the club. And then we had a little bit of Ian, created some more havoc. So really in the time that we've been owners, the club has really gone through, you know, lots of challenges, and, you know, management and the board have had to deal with those. And I think they've done a really good job of guiding the organization through those things. And you know, it made me very comfortable that the management of Stonebridge is you know, up to these challenges. And you know, Marie and I have never really regretted at any time purchasing here. We've been very happy with the experience. So with that said, it is an interesting time for the club. As you know, was discussed, some of the items discussed at last Friday's board meeting. You know, some of the club being 25, 30 years old, depending upon what building you're on, some of the infrastructure starts to age out, like street lamps were a big topic of discussion. So we're starting to have those types of challenges for some major capital improvements. We're digesting the bistro and the grill room and how those two things exist together, and what's kind of the most beneficial way for a club membership to enjoy each of them, but also to make sure that there is, I don't want to say profitable, or at least incur least little as loss as possible in the food and beverage operations, and make sure the facilities are utilized correctly. I think we're in a great position. I think our location is fantastic. Everyone always wants to be near the beach, but over the last couple of hurricanes, maybe that's not such a great thing. Maybe having 2-3 miles in between you and the beach is not such a bad thing. The private equity clubs have become so expensive that I think bundle golf communities are seeing a benefit to that, because there's no waiting list and there's no $100,000, $150,000 initiation fee that you have to pay. So I think we're well positioned for that. But overall, the challenge is always to make sure that everybody's competitive, everybody's good, or as I think the board would like to say, the best of what our peer clubs are. And it's kind of hard you can't really fall behind, right? I think we're seeing that with bocce, where other clubs had bocce before us. Maybe people didn't think it was such an important thing, and now all of a sudden we have 250 people playing bocce. So that turned out to be an important aspect of the club. And if you don't keep innovating and doing those new things, then you kind of fall behind. The property values decrease, the member experience isn't as good, and people you pass on walking the loop around the development aren't smiling. They're become angry because of some of those things if you're not keeping up to cutting edge. So that's really where I see the strengths of the club and the opportunities. And we don't really know what's going to happen over the next 3-year board term, right? When we didn't know about Irma was going to happen, we didn't know Ian, we didn't know COVID, so hopefully, I look forward to contributing to the board and the resources, being a resource to the board, so that whatever challenges come up for us, we're able to meet them. We've done lots of development recently. We're not going to change the golf course next year, right? Those things are kind of behind us, but it's just making sure that the basic underpinning. I think when you come to Stonebridge and look around some of the plantings and things on the golf course, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. When you play reciprocals, you really realize the value of what we have here. So I would just like to really make sure that we continue being a first-class organization. And I kind of feel that the experience that we've had at Stonebridge is that we're not a condo association that happens to have a golf course stuck in the middle of it. We act like a real country club, and you get that feeling when you're either here in the grill room or dealing with staff, service staff, etc. They make you feel special, and they provide great service, and you feel like you're part of a club. And I think we really need to make sure that continues. So that was a little long-winded. Sorry about that, Steve, but those are the things that are on my mind.
Thank you very much. Steve?
Steve. I would echo all of Warren's comments for sure. There's still many challenges, and I think one of the ones that maybe Warren didn't mention was the changing demographics that we're faced with here, in my opinion. We've got a lot of new members coming in, and I think they may have slightly different needs, desires, and some of the folks that have been here since the late 90s. And what is very important to me is that we consider and address the concerns of all of the members, not just a certain group or age group of members. And I think it's challenging to do that. And I think the bocce was a great example, thanks to Bill and Max Borden. It was just a concept and an idea, and has turned into an incredible, I think, just an incredible thing for Stonebridge. I'm on a team, and I have met folks there that I never met before. And it's because they don't play golf and they don't do the things that I do. So that's been really a great experience. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think it has also contributed, I'll ask Joe on this one for sure, but I think it's contributed to the financial health of the club by having a lot of people that otherwise would not have been there on a Monday, Tuesday going and use the club. So I think, that kind of creativity and making sure you're serving all of the members and not just a certain group, not intentionally, but just kind of by default. So I think that's really important. I think that's one of the challenges that we will have as we move forward over the next few years. I think we're seeing a little bit more turnover than what we've had perhaps historically. I do think we have a huge opportunity within our peer group clubs. I think we're uniquely positioned. We've gone through a huge renovation. I get nothing but unbelievable comments about our clubs. The folks that I know at different courses, different clubs come here and they say the course is beautiful, the bistro is amazing. And I think we really have an opportunity to capitalize on that from a couple perspectives. Number one, marketing that to folks that are thinking about living and moving here and somehow getting that out into the community. I think we have just an amazing place here at Stonebridge. The people are incredibly friendly and just it's just they're engaging and just had such a wide variety of interests, and it's just an awesome place to be. And I think with our facility, we can market that and really do a good job continuing that trend. And I also think that, we can't rest on that necessarily. We still need to look forward to try to identify the things we need to do to not continue to be relevant, because I think we'll always be, but to improve and to be better. And I think there's a lot of those things that with some brainstorming, everything can be identified, and then we'll move forward and continue to make Stonebridge a better place. We're working on some strategic things with Joe, and Andy Streeving is heading up a group that is doing a great job, I think, coming up with some brainstorming on where we should head in the future. And I think the future is very bright. I really look forward to being here and to being on the board, and just thoroughly enjoy Stonebridge. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, with that all said, if there's anybody here in the live audience that has any questions for Steve or Warren, be happy to take those now. I would ask that you use the microphone, however, because we do have some folks that are online, and for their benefit, they can hear your questions that way.
If I were a real estate agent in Naples and I was selling nothing but bundled community houses and golf courses, can you talk how I would place these different golf courses? Is it 22 bundled golf communities? How many are there? 22? What what advantages have we got? What disadvantages have we got? How if I were a real estate agent doing that, and I had people who wanted to live in a bundled golf community, well, how would I differentiate them?
Thank you. What was your name? I'm sorry. Pat, nice to meet you, Pat. I think we actually have a lot of data on that. Tim accumulates quite a bit, and we try to benchmark ourselves against the other bundled communities as best we can. Tim has got great working relationships with many of these other clubs, and I think we do have some advantage in that we have gone through, although others we've gone through a lot of our renovation process already, and that is behind us. I think that we have a very unique location here, although our footprint is very small, which is definitely a negative. We don't have we don't have any land left to do certain things, so that is definitely a negative. But we're very close to the beach, which is also good news, bad news if we have a bad storm. The communities have grown further east, further north, and I think that geographically where we are is just wonderful. You think about the amenities that we have with Mercado, the beach, some of the other restaurants and facilities that have really kind of grown up around this area. I think that positions us very nicely, especially compared to some of the ones that are a lot further away from, say, Old Naples and Mercado and so on. So I think we stack up very favorably, and Tim could comment on this probably very well, but financially, we always seem to do okay with respect to our fees and how we compare to those other groups. May actually be cheaper than some of them, and that's good news, bad news, perhaps. But I think in all of the key areas, we compare very favorably. And I think if I was a real estate agent and I had, a Stonebridge listing and another listing, I would be very comfortable promoting Stonebridge for all those reasons.
If you had a person who wanted to own in a bundled golf community and was looking at all of them, what would they say about Stonebridge, other than, if there's anything further to that than you've said? Is there other things that other bundled communities have that we don't have?
The only thing I can think of that's of substance, and we have talked about this, is pickleball. And that's a mixed bag. Some people are very for pickleball, some are not. And I think if within a community that particular buyer might want pickleball, maybe this is not the place for them. Although we do have an alternative, we can really practically walk to a Veterans Park and play pickleball. But that's really the only significant item. Maybe Tim, you could even comment. That's the only significant item that I can think of that would maybe put us at a disadvantage. And we do have a land limitation. We're fighting for space. And whenever you do something, and with parking and everything, the county and so on they're very strict about what land you can use and how you change it. So
Yeah, you've summed it up really well. I think what I would add to that is our bigger challenge in the real estate area. We had a realtors breakfast a few months ago, and things sell very quickly in Stonebridge. So that is in itself a challenge. So a lot of realtors don't know about us, and may have a reputation that if things move too quickly, they're not going to bring somebody in because it may just be a waste of their time. So inventory and days on market, although good because inventory turns, is a challenge as far as realtors go, especially in single family homes.
Let me, if I can, just add a couple of, maybe emphasize or kind of emphasize one of the things that Steve said is as I said before, location, being, relatively close to the beach, but, not on the other side of 75, and where commutes downtown become a lot. Mercado next door, I think, is a big asset. The Vanderbilt shops down here, there's some nice restaurants that are opening there, and have been open. We can get to Fifth Avenue relatively quickly. So that location, I think, and you can't change that. Can't change the location, right? And yeah, but the thing that attracted us to Stone, after we met some of the people here at Stonebridge when Marie and I were buying, that became the deal closer, and that we found this to be one of the more friendlier communities that we came across. And you can, go to sit at the bar at the grill room, or go and even when we join the old bistro, and somebody's going to talk to you, or if you talk to somebody, they're happy to talk to you. And people that you meet along the way are just very, very nice. And I think everybody's, I think, enjoys the experience of Stonebridge, so they become positive towards it. So I think that's a big point of it. I think talk to people in some of the other communities, they don't know a lot of other people, especially where you don't have bundled golf. And the golf people are different from the owners. We looked at some units in Pelican Marsh. We were talking to people then. They said, well, the golf people don't really talk to the tennis people. And people don't talk. And it's part of the function of a bundled community. But I think we take it to another level in terms of the friendliness of the people.
Tim, it sounds like we're living the vision statement, which is nice to hear. Any other questions for Steve or Warren? Joe, you're monitoring the remotes. Anything coming in over that?
No, sir. We're all good.
All right. Well, unless there's anything else, anything that you all would like to add, we're, I think, complete and would adjourn. Thank you all for coming.